Alright, so I'm going to put this whole thing together. My renders have completed and I'm ready to open them into Premiere or any other editor. I'm going to go ahead and use Premiere for this demo, but if you know another way, feel free to use that. Okay, so I'm just going to pick where this is going to go. This is actually fine, so I'll just do this. So probably you would call this whatever the main action is that you're using. And then going to pick a basic preset that's going to work. As it is, it's probably easier, a little faster for me just to go ahead and put the settings in manually. There are a lot of presets here, but I'm just going to use a custom preset here. So I am going to use 24 frames a second. That is what my outputs natively. My frame size is going to be whatever your render size was. So in my case, that was 640 by 480. I do have square pixels, and I have no fields. It's a progressive scan, and it's 24 frames per second. That's right. So that's all fine. Good to go. Say OK. It'll create that project for you. So this sequence 1 is what we just created, and this is the actual timeline for that sequence. If you had multiple sequences, you'd have tabs across here that you could use. So in order to import the images, you can just double click, or you can press Command I or File Import, and navigate to wherever your images are. I've already got mine here. It's wherever you had your project set in Maya, and then the output folder. So this should be it for me. I'm going to select the first image and choose numbered stills, and that's going to force Premiere to look at this as if it's a movie. Say open, and that'll pull in, and you get some information about the movie up here. It's 7 seconds. It's 29.97 frames per second. The reason for this is because you've just rendered images, and Premiere has no way to know the frame rate that you actually render those out. So we actually need to make a modification to that. So you can just right click on your sequence, choose Modify Interpret Footage, and instead of using the frame rate from the file, which doesn't exist, you can say assume this frame rate and say it's 24 frames per second. Everything else is correct in this. We're going to have to make one change to the alpha channel, but I'll just show you in the window and then we'll come back and make that change. So OK. Throw that down into the timeline. You can use the pipe key, the one that's just under the backspace, just to fill this screen a little bit so you can scrub a little bit closer, a little more accurately rather. So that's it. There's my movie, working along just fine. You can see that I'm on a black background. That's because the alpha channel has been brought over. So I just wanted to show you that in the actual viewport here, we'll need to go ahead and make a change to that in the same place where you just were. So back over here to the project panel, right click, modify, interpret footage, and just tell it to ignore the alpha channel. And then you'll just get right back to the white background that we had in Maya. So there you go. Image sequence is in, looking pretty good. Now I'd want to add some sounds here. So there are lots of different places, Sound Dogs, a lot of other search engines you can check online, but Find Sounds, findsounds.com, it has been a pretty good one for me in the past. Just searches a lot of different sites. So since I have a beach ball, I'll just look up beach and lickety split, or not so much. I get some stuff here. So you can listen through these and find one that you like. This one, 8 seconds, this is about the right time frame that I'm looking for. I'm just going to go ahead and get this one. Just right click, save link as, and then just drop it in wherever it's supposed to go. So I'll just put it adjacent to my files here. Maybe create a new folder. Let's call that Foley for all the other sound stuff we're going to throw in here. Okay, so I'll go back to Premiere, just double click to import, navigate back to wherever we just were, and then I can drag that and drop it down here. It's not quite long enough. It's pretty close, but it's not quite long enough. I could stretch it out, or I could double it up and fade it between. In this particular case, I'm not going to worry about it too much. And Alright, so that's the sound. I sort of just pushed the headphone onto the microphone there, so hopefully you guys could hear that. Just get a little bit of a sense of what's happening with background. I'll probably do a little bit of audio tweaking on this, but then I'd want to find any other relevant sounds. Just look up thump or something like that to get a ball landing sound. That's fine. It's not a good sound, but I'm gonna use it for now. Do the same thing. Looks like it's going to the right place. Import that guy. Okay, now I'd want to go through and sort of scrub to the place where my ball is hitting, and you can use the arrow keys to scrub into place here. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this on the timeline. If you can't see everything, this is a completely modular interface. You can open things up and move them around. I'll also just collapse my tracks here since I'm not looking at waveforms right now, and I'll drag this down to there. And it looks like the reason it wouldn't open in one of those tracks is this is a mono track and these are set to stereo. So I had to move it down here. So I'm going to see if that lines up. I'll let you hear too, hopefully. Yeah. Okay, it's way too loud. Can't hear a thing. So I'll go ahead and make a change to this. It's actually in here and it's really buried because this interface is so squished. On your monitor it probably won't be, but it's the audio mixer. You can get it in here, audio mixer. But I just need to go through and turn some of these things down. So I'm just going to pull this audio 1 track way down so I can actually hear what's going on here. Okay, so that's much better. I'll see if hopefully you can hear this. Okay, so not a great sound like I said, but it's reasonable enough, I think, for what I'm doing. So I would just continue to sort of put that into place, and you can control individual sound volumes in a number of ways, but a quick way to do it is just adjust the gain for the track. If you need to do fades and stuff like that, you can do it through here. There's audio effects, audio transitions. All the fades are going to be in the transitions here. But if you just need to move the volume of the whole thing up and down, you can just right click and choose audio gain, and then I can drop this down to something else. So currently it's set to 0 dB. If I set that to -4, it won't be as loud as the previous one, so it probably work a little better. It gets a little quieter each time it hits the ground or something. So that's basically it. You would add as many sounds as you need to. If you want to have anything else in here video wise, you can add other video layers up here. And then it's just time to output. So I use Command M or Control M to do this, so I can't remember actually where it is. Maybe it's a sequence make movie. There, no, that's not it. I don't know where it is. I'm just so used to. Oh, it's probably export over here. That's it. Okay, so in After Effects, it's in a different place, but over here it's under export. So it's just Control M or Command M will bring up the dialog for you to set up all of your export settings. Okay, so I'd suggest just going out H.264. That's the compression codec, so this will actually be an MP4. If you prefer to do QuickTime, you can do QuickTime and set the compression to H.264, but I like H.264. It's a clean and pretty small codec, so that'll work out for what I'm looking for. You can choose a preset, and since I have SD, I might try YouTube SD and sort of see what it gives me. So it looks like my size is right, so that's good. Frame rate wrong, so I'll change that to 24. Progressive is correct. You really don't have to worry about render at maximum depth. That's to do with higher bit depth stuff. This is pretty high actually as far as the bit rate goes. And we'll just leave it like that. Should look really good like that. I don't think you should necessarily need to set a keyframe distance. You can control the temporal compression using this, but I don't really think we'll need to. We'll turn on use maximum render quality. It takes a little longer to render but looks better. It's fine. We're only rendering it once. We might watch it a number of times. Audio, AAC is fine as a codec. Stereo is good depending on what you drop in sound wise, 44.1 or 48. Bitrate settings probably go up to about 128 or so. And that should be it. We'll give it a name, make sure it knows where it's going to output. So I'm just going to throw a new folder here and call it outputs. Give this a name. And then just click export. And you can press Q, and essentially that just queues up a bunch of different stuff in Media Encoder, but since we're only rendering one thing, it doesn't really matter. So get that out of the way, and let me switch over there. Okay, so of course I can hear it with sound and you cannot, but it does have sound in it. And this will be a relatively small file size because of the compression that we chose. So 450K is not bad. I mean, there's not that much for it to compress. It's a huge amount of white space. So these should compress down pretty small. That's pretty much it. If you have any specific questions, feel free to email me.